Hello everybody, my name is Sam from SpawnRoom.com. Actually, I should probably say Perlox, because that's the name I play my games under and everything. I don't know if it really matters. It doesn't really matter. Today we're going to be taking a look at NIP versus Virtus Pro from the EMS One. Oh, DJ Wheat, I was just listening to Inside the Game and he mentioned how to say that Katowice. He said it totally different than what I said. Something really weird that you wouldn't really think. I guess whatever. It's from the EMS One Katowice, whatever. 2014 Grand Finals, CSGO, obviously. I did a round one analysis. You can watch that. It's again, you don't want to watch these videos if you just want to watch the match, because I did a round one analysis the first time. It was like 26 minutes long, and that round probably only lasts like a minute. So heads up for that. Again, these are just test videos to see how it goes. But I kind of like them. It's good for me. I mean, when I sit down and literally just go almost like, a few seconds at a time, and I just look at like every little thing. I don't know. It's kind of insightful, at least for me, and I can put up with it. But I suppose as a viewer, maybe it's kind of tedious. Again, just let me know in the comments. Let's jump to the game. Alright, so now that we're in the game, I just want to point out a few quick things before we get started. As you can see, it is round two. CT side has actually opted to essentially buy out, which is kind of unusual from an amateur perspective, right? Usually when you play matchmaking and you're in the silver bracket or the stars or the AKs or something, if you lose pistol round, you generally barely buy anything the second round, and even maybe the third round too. With the idea being that when you finally have enough money, you can do a full buyout. You can get the rifle, you can get the armor with the helmet, you can get some grenades, and you can level the playing field at that time. Hopefully take the round and get back on track. And usually everyone gets pissed if someone actually buys second or third round, right? But in this scenario, NIP has actually decided to buy out. They've got all new pistols, they've got the CZ75s, they've got armor, 3 with helmets, some grenades. On the T side, you can see that they have rifles, so it's going to be really important that NIP is careful about like long range engages, because the advantage is obviously going to be on T side for that. Another thing you might notice from the amateur's perspective is generally second round, a lot of times people will do like SMG buyouts because it's cheaper. You can get the armor, SMG, some grenades. It really doesn't, hit your eco that hard. But on the pro side, they have actually got 2 Galils. They actually have 2 AKs too, because those players got kills, and they actually essentially bought out. So that might seem a little unusual, and we'll have to see how it plays out exactly. Not only this round, but future rounds. We'll have to see how the eco works. But they also got full armor. They've got some grenades. You can see Pasha actually didn't buy a rifle. He actually just opted to go for a bunch of grenades. And we'll see that play out in a little bit, where he uses a few of them. Okay, yep, that's what I wanted to mention before we start here. Okay, so this is the first few seconds of the match. A couple things to note. You might expect when you're playing in an amateur match, sometimes, actually I don't know how often this happens. It seems like almost half the time teams will want to stack something, especially if you end up like doing a buyout like this. You want like your full team's power, right? To hopefully catch the other team off guard. So you'll do something like everyone stack A or everyone stack B, and just hope that you're lucky that when the T's come rushing in, your whole team is already there. You got a couple CZ75s you can unload, and hopefully by playing really unexpectedly like that, you'll get the round win. And actually, it does seem to work a lot. Funnily enough, like when me and my team play, we actually and this kind of sucky, but we actually lose a lot of we'll win the first round, we'll actually lose the second round, even though we have guns, because teams will do something super unexpected. Like we'll be rushing B, and their whole team just happens to be like up in here or camped out here, and just by playing really unexpectedly, they win. And we're always like really disappointed. Because we're like, oh my God, we suck. We had guns and we threw the whole thing away and blah, blah, blah. But so that's one thing to note. The second thing, they took their rifles mid and they all shot down here hoping to get someone window, which is smart, right? I mean, to maximize the utility of your rifles, you want to go to like a long range setting and hope to get a pick like right here. Now, NIP probably knows that, being professional players. They're probably not going to send anyone here for that simple reason. However, they do it anyway, just in the hopes that NIP made a mistake and just didn't think it through. They also, I mean, they all pretty much have similar weapons. So at this point, you might think, oh, NIP definitely knows they're mid now, but maybe not, right? Like they could have thrown a couple of decoys over here, and NIP really wouldn't know. So as of now, from NIP's perspective, Virtus Pro could be pretty much anyway, right? They could be walking Palace. They could be doing exactly what they did in round one and just camping out here. They could be moving up towards apartments, through subway, anything, right? And they're actually going to, in a second here, toss a decoy over here, which will help, kind of mask their movement. They're going to be dropping a few smokes, but I'll pause and move forward, and then we'll get to that. Okay, just a couple more things to note down quickly. So they sent Freiburg and Forest, I just want to mention this really quickly, who have a CZ75 and a 5.7, a flashbang, and 2 armors with helmets. So this might seem like a little thing, but it's smart, right? They're going to have 3 players here and 2 players here. So you're going to want to send, try and even the scales a little bit, right? So they send their basically 2 strongest players, like a really strong duo, to B, because they're missing a third guy here. Like Fifth Lauren, for instance, he's got a P250 and an armor but no helmet. And they also sent the diffuse kit here because there's 3 players. Get Right's in a nice position that if he happened to go down, the diffuse kit's in a spot where they could actually recover it, which is smart. And since they have a little bit of weaker gear, but they have the third guy, basically what I'm saying is if you added it up and you had some sort of system for calculating strength or whatever, they would be fairly equal, because even though there's a guy down, they have a little bit better armor and equipment. That's the point there. Let's see, what else did I want to note down? So they got the decoy here, which will help mask their movements mid at this point, because they could have thought that this was a decoy. Now they're not sure. It could just be 2 different decoys. So it's still a bit unclear where Virtus Pro would be at this exact moment. Although I think, if I remember right, Fifth Lauren and Pasha here might have seen each other. So I think at this point, NIP definitely knows, or they're going to know within the next few seconds, that Virtus Pro is in fact mid. But this decoy will still do work for them. It'll, once there's going to be a smoke here, and they got the smoke here, and then with this decoy, it'll mask, they could still suddenly come through here. They could have guys here that come through. It'll, mask their movements, cat, and stuff like that, which is good. And lastly, I wanted to note that they sent Pasha here, right? So there's kind of, I guess, a trade-off in this short moment where Pasha actually, I think, sees Fifth Lauren for just a little bit. And you might think to yourself, oh, if only he would have had an AK. He could have actually maybe picked Fifth Lauren, who was peeking out. But the problem is that they don't know if there's a guy right meow. So Pasha, comes in and he sees and he starts shooting with his AK, say. This guy leaps out, kills him, and is able to recover the assault rifle. Because Pasha's actually going to come in here for a little, a few paces. So the trade-off is they don't get the long-range pick, but they also, avoid the risk of giving NIP a rifle, which is probably better, right? Probably a lot better. If NIP happens to get a rifle, that's kind of a big deal. Yeah. So let's pause and we'll move forward a little bit more. All right. So Pasha actually did move in. He went as far as going to this position after the smoke was down to check this corner. Again, it's smart to have one of these guys on your team because he can risk his life, and if he does die, it's not a super big deal. Had they sent the rifler in there and he gets picked, Fiflaren could have grabbed the rifle. Now that's a whole nother situation. So Pasha's able to check it, back off, which is good. Fiflaren's probably not going to move in or anything. They don't really have to worry too much once the smoke is down. I mean, it would be really risky for him to walk through the smoke because there could easily be a guy just waiting to pick him. Or Pasha could be sitting right here to try and pick him or something. So they probably don't really have to worry about getting shot in the back at this point. Another thing to mention is at this stage, Nip probably doesn't know where the bomb is because of the two smokes. However, if they do, then that was a mistake on Virtus Pro's part. It's really important to try and not let the enemy team know where your bomb carrier is. That's why someone like Exist is probably sitting here, because the bomb carrier could be doing one of those sneaky maneuvers where he's just going to camp here, and when everyone rotates to B, he's just going to jump out and plant A with no worries, right? I doubt they would do something like that when you already have the advantage of rifles and stuff, but it could happen. So once these smokes are down, the bomb carrier can move by. Now, as I said, if the bomb carrier did get spotted, that was kind of a mistake. He should have been back here. Definitely wait for these smokes to be 100% down so that he can move cat without them knowing. You can see that these two Nip players are in position. Forest spot really is pretty nice, and you'll see that coming up. And then for Get Right's already rotating away, which is good. I mean, even if Virtus Pro suddenly came through here or here or here, Get Right was only sitting here anyway. So for him to be in, this area is all right because he can rotate in either way. He's kind of putting himself right in a mid position where, it takes a second to rotate that way and a second to rotate that. That's nice. So I like that. All right, so just really quickly here. At this point, you can see Virtus Pro is, they definitely know that it's probably going to be a B rush by this point. Get Right is moving into position here. I don't think Freiburg or Forrest would be able to see them at this point, but it probably seems fairly clear. Exist is starting to move away. We got a couple Virtus Pro that are watching the back, which is smart. Fiflaren's hoping to maybe get a little bit of damage on, say, someone like Pasha, who could have been camping in either of these spots. The only real thing I want to mention here is that, I don't know if they do these things on purpose, but Fiflaren is probably their weakest player in terms of loadout, right? He's got a P250, which is cheaper than the 5.7s. He doesn't have the CZ75. He doesn't have armor with the helmet. So they happen to just place him, and I don't know if they do this on purpose, but if they do, that's really smart. They put him in probably the highest risk position, right? There could be a guy here, there could be a guy here, there could be a guy that came through here, and could listen for Fiflaren moving towards reinforcements, and I think he even has to break open this little thing here, which they would hear. So when Fiflaren decides to move out, he could be chased by someone. This guy could leap around right when he happens to be breaking the, I don't know what you call it, the barricade or something. And if he does happen to get picked, they don't really lose that much compared to these other guys, which is pretty cool. And he also gets the scouting opportunity. Although I don't know how the timing will work out, but Exist might actually be able to cover his back at this point. If Fiflaren moves, there might be a short window where if a guy did come out, Exist would actually see him and be able to alert Fiflaren. That would be that's a pretty short window, I think, probably. But just something to note down. Okay, as you can see, the Virtus Pro team is actually completely moved into B now. Freiburg and Forest, at this point, I don't think they've really seen anything, so they actually don't really know that these three guys are here, although it's a safe assumption. Get Right is spotted probably these two players. And if you see two over here, it's safe to assume that there's going to be, guys moving basically down these 3 corridors to try and secure the bomb site. Get Right is actually going to engage Taz, which seems a little crazy in a way, right? Get Right has the CZ75, which is really powerful. But he is going up against Taz, who has a Galil, so I mean it's pretty stacked against Get Right. However, and I mean, like, you might think, oh, well, that seems a little crazy. Maybe he should have just, played in here or here and just try and get a couple, get some damage off, get some picks, and wait for Fifth Lauren and Exist to get up. I mean, that's what we do in amateur games, right? We try and let the team get up there so that we can attack as a unit, which seems smart. However, the thought process here might be that if Taz can camp this corner, that's really powerful for the Virtus Pro, right? Like, no matter what, he basically shuts down this entire spot, because if you leap through the window, he's going to get the first shot. If you come through the door, he's going to get the first shot. So Get Right might be thinking, I have to try my hardest to make sure there's not a Virtus Pro camping this corner. Seems plausible, right? Let's see. Either Exist or Fifth Lauren actually did get a little bit of damage on Snacks, you can see, by firing through the smoke. I mean, whatever. Exist Exist and Fifth Lauren are moving to reinforce. Exist is still kind of just checking, delaying just long enough to be like that one guy who happens to spot the bomb carrier running out. Not going to happen this time, but still smart, right? Let's see. It would have probably been really cool, and again, you can't really know this, and it would be really risky, but how awesome would it have been if, like, Freiburg would have been up here? Especially, I mean, he's rocking a 5.7, which would have been nice. He could have delayed them or gotten some nice picks from the windows up here. Again, it would be risky, though, if he would have leapt through here and started creeping up. The whole team could have showed up all of a sudden and got a free pick on him. But just something to note down, for if you want to mix it up at your B coverage, walking through here and just taking that little bit of risk, and then the enemy team moves in. I mean, that's pretty nice angles there. Okay, so as you can see, Get Right actually does get taken out. He does a little bit of damage, 40 damage to Taz. Doesn't manage to secure this corner, unfortunately. Forrest has still not been spotted, which is awesome. He's, playing sneaky. Although I think in a second here, he is going to engage Taz from this angle, which, whatever, that's all right. In the heat of the battle, they might still not notice that he's actually there, even if he does get the pick. Let's see. Pasha is playing fairly conservative. I mean, he's only got the USP. And I think in a second he's actually going to go and check the rear, which is nice. You always want a guy doing that. For all they know, Exist or Fifth Lauren could have ran up behind. Oh, I forgot to mention before too. When they first came around the corner, they automatically put some shots off down here on bench, even though they didn't see anyone, because just as a quick note, you can shoot through this. It has happened to me a number of times where I'm like camping here, crouched down, waiting, and then I get blasted, and you can do a fair amount of damage through there. Another little note, Freiburg actually does engage Bialy, or however you pronounce it here. We can check that. You might be thinking, oh, why did he do that? He comes out, pistol against rifle. He's going to get picked here in a second. It would have been nice had he just sat in this back corner or right here and just wait. He could have Virtus Pro come into his line of fire, and that would be awesome, right? Well, but the problem is that when you're going up against rifles against pistols, they could, like, one guy can just leap. He'd jump over, crouch, and just unload, and most likely he's going to get Freiburg anyway. So the thought process here is probably Freiburg leaps out unexpectedly, manages to get a quick kill on, say, someone like Bialy. It would be pretty sweet. He especially he could do something like he leaps out, gets a couple shots, manages to back away. Now, not only do they have to come into his line of fire, but he also managed to get a few shots off, which would be cool. Unfortunately, I think he gets picked, which we'll see in a second here. The other cool thing that could have worked is that, say Freiburg sat right here and didn't pop out, there's actually a window or a line of fire here where Fifth Lauren and Freiburg could shoot at the same target when they cross this line. That's pretty cool to know. So if you got some really good team coordination between you and another guy who happened to be in these positions, mention that, you know. Just sit here with, especially if you have rifles. You could just sit here, and I almost said shit, I think. You could shit here and just blast anyone that crosses this line. Yeah. As you can see, Freiburg ended up getting picked here. Forrest does manage to get a kill on Taz, which had a rifle. That's great. Pyjamas temporarily out of the battle because he went to go check this. Forrest is also going to get some damage here, but I think, is this Neo or must be Neo. Neo is going to see Forrest here, so they should be able to clear up, get up or kill Forrest in a second. Fifth Lauren's going to engage on Snacks, and he's probably going to get picked, right, because it's Pistol V rifle at a fairly good distance, so he's at a disadvantage there. And then Exist is going to have to come in and try and clean it up. So I'm just going to play it out because I don't think there was very much to talk about at this point. You can see, you know, pick, and now it's 1v3. Yep. All right, that covers this episode of Round Overanalysis. I guess that's what I'm calling it or something. Thanks for watching as always. If you liked it and you want more content, consider subscribing above or below. I always say above, but actually, is it below? I think it depends on what page you're looking at. Whatever. So yeah, there's also other videos. It's not just this stuff. It is the Competitive Snapshot, which focuses on like specific strategies. Although I think I'm calling this Competitive Snapshot too. I got some figuring to do. But yes, so other recent videos, map position analysis. I did Dust 2 Bombsight A. I'm going to do the other ones in the future. Behind the Play, which does like, you know, just full match analysis. And I've done some other games, and I would like to do some League and TF2 and stuff in the future, but I think I'm going to focus primarily on CSGO right now. Until I get, you know, really good at analyzing it. And yes, that is it for now. Check out spawnroom.com. There are 2 pages that I mean, besides the blog posts, there's the esports ad block whitelist, which if you want to support esports, go check that out. You just apply it to your ad block, and it whitelists like a few hundred esports websites to help support them if they have ad revenue. And then there is the Esports Podcast MP3 downloads page, which I've been converting esports podcasts to MP3s because almost nobody does it, so I'm doing the work, at least temporarily. So go check that out too. Yep. See ya.